Are we?
I think. Is there something you want to tell the audience, Zach? Sounds like you're holding out on something.
No, I'm ready.
Zach would never hold out on us.
I'm all in, dude.
I'm not convinced of Zach's readiness right now. But we are definitely live, so...
Hey, are you ever going to fix the fact that my name goes slightly off the page?
Never. So welcome back to the show.
Fuck.
Yes, thank you.
Welcome back to the Lost Ledgers. I am Shawn, welcoming you back. Below me is Justin.
Hello.
Adam.
Hey.
And Zach.
Hi.
How are you guys doing today?
That's not how you say hello to people. I don't know why I did that. It's been a long week.
Hello.
Yes, I don't know.
It's been a long week. Everything all right?
No,
Let's get deep right now.
I'm just tired.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not depressed or anything. I'm just very tired.
We are coming back to you today with some more homebrew, as you know. But this week,
wait, we are
coming back at you.
coming back at you, specifically with some magical items. That we like to go back to because magical items are fun. This week, though, our specific constraint was to make magical items specifically for martial classes. And by martial classes, we mean any class that doesn't innately have a spellcasting feature. So Warlock still counts, even though it's not technically spellcasting, it's pack magic. But you know what I mean. So we each got assigned a class. I had Rogue, Justin had Monk, Adam had Barbarian, and Zach had Fighter. And it looks like the first item that we have here is Adam's for the Barbarian. So
yes.
I'm willing to go ahead and just jump into it unless there's anything you wanted to say.
Stay hydrated.
That's always good advice.
It's true.
That's always good advice.
Stay till the end.
That's also good advice because if you stay to
where
the end,
we will announce what next week's subject is, which I think we actually already decided.
And you get to hear the word of the day, which I save until the end. So this first item on the docket today is Brennamodhr. It's a wondrous item, it's rare, and it requires attunement by a barbarian. Brennamodhr is a silver necklace with a small uncut ruby hanging from it. To anyone who is not attuned to the necklace, the ruby feels uncomfortably hot, but when attuned, it merely feels warm to the touch. When you enter your rage, swirling gouts of flame spill forth from the ruby and twist around your arms and legs. While attuned to the necklace, you gain the following benefits while raging. Your melee weapon attacks deal an additional 1d4 fire damage. You have resistance to cold damage and fire damage. If you are reduced to 0 hit points but are not killed outright, instead you are reduced to 1 hit point, and all creatures of your choice within 10 feet of you must make a DC 14 dexterity saving throw, taking 3d6 fire damage on a failure or half as much on a success. You can't use this feature again until you finish a long rest.
Ooh.
Nice.
And that's it. Pretty straightforward. Basically just makes your rage better. In addition to your regular bonus damage, you get a bonus D4 fire damage. In addition to your regular resistances, you get cold and fire. And in addition to, what's the barbarian version of it called? I don't know. The half-orc feature. But the barbarian version, you essentially get 1 proc of that for free, and you get to deal some fire damage to people around.
That's nice.
I wish I had something like rage to work with.
Hey, I gave you the option of if you wanted to be fighter or monk, and you chose fighter.
I didn't think about it.
I didn't think about it. What I will say is that this definitely feels like a magical item, which is foreshadowing for mine, which feels a little bit less magical. Mines are very mechanics heavy as opposed to like being a magical like extension of a feature like this is. I do like this a lot. I like the
concept a lot. Just like adding something onto a rage.
Thank you.
That's why I give it Burzum.
What I was kind of trying to think of was I was kind of thinking of like, well, what would be like a cool thing to do with your rage on a subclass? And then I just pulled it out of the subclass and made it an item.
Yeah. I mean, that's sort of how I approached mine, but yours still feels more like a magical item.
Okay.
It still feels like there's magic going on.
That's fair. I'm very big on the like sort of elementally attuned
Oh, yeah.
subclass idea. So that's I kind of lean in that direction when I'm coming up with magic items or variant class features or subclasses. Just it's something that I lean into because it's a fantasy that I really enjoy, the like elemental mastery thing.
Oh yeah.
What does Brennamodhr mean?
It means burning fury in Old Norse.
I thought that it was Norse, but I couldn't tell.
Yeah, that's it. I might have smushed those words together wrong, but the two words on their own do mean burning and fury. So I don't actually speak or study Old Norse, so it's entirely possible that you can't do that
Smashing.
that smushing together. But it's Germanic, so in theory you should be able to. That should be fine.
Oh, but what if Becky let you? What if Becky let you smashed?
Well, I mean, if Becky's a scholar of Old Norse and says that it's fine, then it's probably fine.
Becky is a crow, so could be Odin giving the okay.
Yeah, there you
Well,
go.
Hugin and Moonin are ravens, not crows.
All right.
They're
all
both corvids. Relax.
right. I mean, this is pretty sweet and simple. Not a lot for me to. I think it hits all the things it needs to hit. Rare seems like the appropriate.
Yeah,
I was just about to ask: do you guys think rare is appropriate, and do you think that saving throw DC is appropriate for the rarity?
absolutely.
I think
maybe
that
a little bit higher, but it's fine.
When it comes to a lot of items that have specific class attunements, I think they actually use a DC as derived from the character as opposed to a static DC.
That's possible. I'm going to be honest. I was kind of rushed coming up with this, and I didn't want to take the time to look that up, and so I was like, "Set DC, it'll be fine."
Yeah, I think the DC is fine. I think rare is typically 15 other than 14.
Okay.
I mean that's a 1-point difference, but I mean,
I remember that
Sorry.
I remember that when we did our legendary items, I did a set DC that ended up being higher than even legendary items usually go for their set DCs. So I wanted to be conservative with this because I remember thinking that things should have a higher DC than they actually do.
Yeah, which is understandable. But I think, let me just check real quick. Oh, that means nothing. I was checking the ones from Tasha's real fast to see if they use the DC from
Xanathar's?
No, Tasha's.
Oh, well,
there's not any class.
Xanathar's only adds common magic items to the game.
Oh, gotcha. I thought you were referring to like what like the barbarians would use for their
Oh no, I mean it would be 8 proficiency plus con mod if we were basing it off of the barbarian class. But Shawn's checking to see if any of the class specific items from Tasha's do that, or if they just have a set DC. Well, because the thing is, for
your DC at all, actually.
Because for spellcasting classes, it's very easy to just say against your spell save DC.
Yeah.
But for the martial classes, you have to define it because there's
I
not
found one. I found one that explicitly calls for your spell save DC. Which, as you said, with spellcasters, it's a lot easier. But for everybody else, it's like you have to define what it is. And with the barbarian, in this case, it'll probably be Constitution.
Yeah, that's the thing. 8 plus proficiency plus Constitution. So if you are a level 1 character with a +4 in your con, then this is the same. And as you level up, then that version gets better versus what I have written here.
Yeah. But that's the only thing. I think this hits a lot of really nice marks for the barbarian. I think it fits well with how you would play that character as well. Doesn't go against the grain necessarily.
Yeah, I thought about trying to make something that would make you play against type. Like, I thought about a magical item that would let you get your rage benefits on dex things instead of strength things. But as much as I like the idea of a dex-based barb, I don't feel like a magic item is the right way to fix that. I feel like it just needs to be like a variant class.
Yeah, I agree.
My only very minor concern is just the resistance, because I know the bear totem barbarian gets resistance to everything but psychic. I think there's I think the storm heralds, don't they get like a resistance based on like
Yeah,
whatever?
they get a resistance based on the element that they picked.
But I mean, other than those like two very minor things, and like you probably won't give this to. I mean, even still, even if you do double up with like on a
Well, and
barbarian,
that's
like
the thing.
the other
Even if
features are still good enough.
That's the thing. Even if you've already got the resistances, the extra damage and the extra proc of relentless endurance are pretty good.
Yeah.
The resistance is, it's not exactly trinket text. It's still part of like the balance for the item. But
Right.
like if you aren't getting that full benefit, it's not the end of the world. And unless you're bear totem specifically, you're still getting at least one of those resistances, because the Storm Herald can only get one of those resistances at a time. So
True.
probably don't give this to a bear totem barbarian,
Yeah.
but other than that, you're probably fine.
That's one of the nice things about making magical items is that I don't think you should have to worry about too much about like it stepping on toes, because it's up to the DM to
Yeah.
hand out the items.
Yeah.
So it's like if they know if you're a bear totem, they're probably not going to give you this, or if they do, they might modify it and like maybe give you resistance to psychic damage and turn it into a psychic thing, which would be kind of cool.
Right. Well, and that's the thing with magic items. If the players are picking it, then a player whose toes it steps on just won't take it. And if the DM is picking it, they won't give it to a player who it's going to step on their toes. Like,
Yeah.
it's
but
really
no,
only a problem if you're rolling on a random table.
yeah,
Which
absolutely.
I don't think most people do for
Yeah.
magic items. Like for mundane loot, I totally get rolling on a table, but for magical loot, I feel like you need to have a little bit more of that editorial intent.
I think when it comes to like, because these are class specific, so like when it comes to like these and items in Tasha's, these are probably something you don't want to put on your magic roll table. But sometimes it is fun to just get those like standard magic items that can end up on the table, like an immovable rod or like
A
Boots of
generic
Valentine.
+1 weapon or something.
Yeah, something like that. Like those are fun to get randomly. But if you're something like this, shouldn't show up on a random table, because you might go to a party that doesn't have a barbarian, and it's like, why'd you even give it to them?
Right.
You know, it's interesting too, because also the thief rogue, which can ignore like attunement requirements, can't benefit from this item.
Right,
And
yeah, because that's the
and
thing.
I like that.
You
That
technically
is
only benefit from this while you're in a rage.
that is pretty funny. That's something that we should consider for the rest of the episode, because I forgot that the thief can do that.
Yeah.
That was something that like I thought about, but I was just but I also realized I was like, it's probably like we're probably going to reference things like from the different martial classes. So like
Yeah,
unless
definitely
a
did.
thief, so like unless a thief rogue has a level in barbarian, which I
Yeah.
mean, who knows?
Well,
Maybe
that's the thing.
could.
There are rogue barbarian multiclasses that kind of work.
Yeah,
and who knows? Like if
you can be
if
a
they
strength rogue. How weird it is, but
Yeah, that's the thing. Because if you do a Strogue build with barbarian, sneak attack plus rage can be pretty good.
and like the thing too is, let's
and
say you're
reckless
a rogue.
attack.
Let's say you're a rogue and you get this, and you're just like, you know what? I was thinking about maybe multi-classing into barbarian. This just kind of like, I could go for it.
Although there's already a lot of the class restricted items already don't do anything for the thief rogue. Like,
Yeah.
that's the thing. Like, I'm trying to think of a class restricted item that the
All
thief
of them are
rogue
spellcasters. All of them are spellcaster magic items, so it's a little bit strange.
isn't the Holy Avenger class restricted.
Yes.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's Cleric Paladin. Okay,
So Holy
that could work.
Avenger and spell scrolls, and that's basically it.
Anything that's does require, well, if it's an alignment based attunement,
Well,
there are some stuff.
I'm just saying based on the class restriction.
Based on class,
The alignment restriction, yeah, does free up a few things, but
a few things, yeah. Well,
also
Oh
yeah, no, sorry, I was just gonna complain about scrolls. Please move on.
Please move on from this. We will never stop. We'll go ahead and move on to the next thing, which is Zach's item with a familiar name.
All right.
Hey.
All right.
I should have done Sylvia text, but I didn't. Kilagin's resonating chainmail. Armor, very rare. Requires attunement by fighter. While wearing this armor, you gain resistance to magic damage. Additionally, you have advantage on any magic effect targeting you. Any creature within 60 feet of you that is concentrating on a spell must make a Constitution saving throw at the start of their turn. On a failed save, they lose concentration on the spell.
Ooh.
That's very powerful.
That's
I
really
But-
strong.
Uh,
Now, when you say magic damage, you mean any damage from any magical source, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
uh,
wording's probably wrong on this. I didn't have time to check that stuff.
Oh, sure.
I think that your wording is clear though. Like it's not
Mhm.
like there's confusion about what you mean. It just needs to be
Yeah, it needs to be
fit
cleaned up.
into the 5e mold.
Yeah.
So my only thing is just that that they need to make a Constitution saving throw at the start of their turn. Is that just like a general like
Mhm.
DC 10 check?
Yeah.
That should probably be specified then. Uh,
Yeah, that's the thing.
that's my only thing
Specifying the
with it.
DC of the Constitution save.
I
Sure.
will say when Zach told me that he had made chainmail, like he made a chainmail armor that was very rare, I was like, ooh, it's gonna have to pull some work because a fighter that has chainmail armor instead of plate at that like level of play, that's sacrificing 2 AC right there. That's kind of big. Potentially more if they find like a +1 plate or something. But
It's a good
I
trade.
think this is a good enough trade for it.
Yeah, that's the thing, because this is chainmail is the worst heavy armor, isn't it?
No, it is. It's
It's
not.
the second worst.
I don't think it's.
I think
I don't think it's the second worst.
not sure.
It is.
There's
It is.
no way that it's the third.
It is the second worst, but that's only because there's only 4, and the one below it is like.
The one
Four.
below it's scale, isn't it? Or is scale the best medium armor?
I don't know. I don't have my PHB with me. That's in
Not
my
sure.
back.
Quick question. When you say advantage on any magical effect targeting you, would you consider disadvantage on spell attacks against you as well?
So I was considering that being the case. I think I actually forgot to add that because I wanted it to be basically anything magic. Like even if you were
Okay.
like caught in a fireball, you had like advantage on it. But I decided to go with targeting you because I didn't know if I could word it correctly for the other way.
Sure. You could say you have advantage against any magical effect, which is essentially exactly what the gnome has, and spell attacks made against you are made at disadvantage. And
Okay.
that would cover both.
And I think, honestly, as powerful as this is, I think that it's kind of balanced out by the fact that you're wearing bad heavy armor for it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like-
and I made it chainmail because I was just thinking of chainmail being like the loud, like you imagine it clanking around, and so I wanted it to be like a magical clanking that kind of interferes with anything that's like
That's fair.
magical around it.
Right. Yeah. No, I like this effect a lot. Like, I mean, it's obviously very powerful, but I mean, honestly, how many enemy spellcasters are you normally facing? Right?
Yeah,
Like, unless you're playing in a campaign where there are assloads of casters. I mean, this is obviously going to be good, but I don't think it's going to be like game breakingly good. And getting one more concentration check out of them every turn. I mean, you'll break concentration sometimes, but
Well, Michael, Sid brings up a good point. Does this include allies with with this any creature?
the way I have it written, it does. That was a question that I was going to have for you guys, if I should keep
think
it that way or not.
I think you should keep it that way because it provides some good balancing effects for this. Of
Yeah.
like your casters want to stay away from you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
but also, you just got done saying.
how
about,
do you choose the chainmail that's making this noise? Like how do you
That's what the
as a
attunement's
person
for.
make that choose? I guess.
That's like because the way that it is, there's not really necessarily a reason why this needs to be attunement. And that's not always the case for every magic item. Like not every magic item has an effect that needs to have attunement. But that's the best way to explain effects like of your choice. The attunement allows you to choose who the armor does it. If this weren't attunement and you got to choose, then I'd be like, But because it is attunement and you get to choose, I think that still makes sense.
Sure.
That's
I-
fair.
Well, and also without attunement, you can't restrict it to a class.
That too.
Yeah. and also, Adam, as you were saying, you were saying like not often you're gonna be facing like assloads of like casters and stuff, but you are probably going to have a spellcaster in your party who will probably be concentrating on a spell. So-
One problem is that the way it's
Mhm.
worded, it would affect you as well.
Mhm.
So you just have to write other than yourself or something like that. Because you can be a fighter that casts with like Eldritch Knight or with the Magic Initiate feat.
No.
No, okay.
Well, I mean, if we're already excluding allies, I think there's no reason not to
Yeah.
exclude yourself.
If you're gonna add allies, we can just add you and allies. You choose are unaffected.
At that point, you can just say creatures of your choice, and you can just choose yourself.
creatures.
Ring mail is the worst.
Yeah,
that's what it
sorry,
is.
I looked that up and I forgot to say anything. Yeah,
And
ringmail doesn't have a strength requirement, but it only gives you 14 AC.
And it's
And
pretty
Chainmail
bad.
gives you 15, right?
16.
16? That's not bad.
It's a 2-point well, because chainmail is better than half plate with no dex bonus, the same as half plate with 1 dex bonus, and worse than half plate with 2 dex bonus. So like there's trade-offs to be made.
Now, if you were a thief rogue and you wore this, you wouldn't have proficiency in the armor. So that would fuck you up too.
Although
unless you were a thief rogue dwarf.
Well, but like wearing armor that you're not proficient with doesn't actually give you many penalties other than not being able to cast spells.
Which is pretty funny, yeah.
But also, it gives you disadvantage on stealth.
It would.
It does. It does,
would.
but you have
Boots of Elvenkind cancel out. Perfect.
you have an insanely high stealth score, and eventually you just pretty much treat any roll that you're proficient with that's less than 10 as an 11.
Until earlier, you guys said something about this thief rogue. I didn't even know it existed, so fuck that.
Oh, I don't think the thief rogue being able to use anything like this is gonna be a problem. Like, I don't think saying, "Oh, the thief rogue can use this" should be used for against any of these items. Maybe for actually, less than against, because I think the more
There's
options
not many they can use right now.
Yeah.
Honestly, the thief rogue is pretty bad. It needs the help.
Yeah, the more magical items it can use that other people normally can't, the better it is for the class, and that's just a good thing in my opinion. I'm just thinking of how funny it is to, like, as a thief rogue, put this on and go with I can't cast spells, but who cares? Neither can you.
Yeah.
And I think I don't think anything about this is busted, and I think that the effect on chainmail definitely balances it out. Now, as a DM, it's obviously up to you whether or not you want to put it on chainmail. You could choose to put it on other stuff, if you really wanted to. If this were on something that was better than chainmail, I'd probably want to make it like top tier magical item as opposed to very rare, because it's chainmail. I think it's where it should be.
Maybe bringing the range down a little bit, because 60 feet is pretty far.
It is pretty far, yeah.
If this were better armor, maybe bring it down to 30 feet.
On the same note, 60 feet's also the range of Dispel Magic and Counterspell. So, like,
isn't Counterspell 90 feet?
No, it's 60.
I think
60?
Dispel Magic is also 120.
Oh, it's even further? Okay, well. So, like, as a caster, you already have options to shut down someone else's spells.
What's 90 feet? I feel like there's something on my spell list that I'm always like, oh, am I within 90 feet of them? Oh, Hex is 90, isn't it?
Is it? That's weird.
Maybe?
Range. I think it's 60, but it's weird if it's 90. I know some spells are 90. I don't know off the top of my head, but yeah, I don't think there's anything necessarily busted with giving this to a fighter at 3rd tier. Makes perfect sense to me. Your casters have plenty of spell slots to cast Counterspell and Dispel Magic, so they're not going to be missing out on anything. Giving the fighter a good way of countering, that's good.
Are you saying that you want Thornton to make this in your campaign, Zach?
Kilagin already has.
Is gonna make this.
You said Killigan's gonna make this?
I mean, yeah, it's got his name on it.
It's literally got his
fair.
name on it.
Thanks for helping me balance an item for my campaign.
But Zach has revealed that there is more than one Kilagin. Because it's Killagin's resonating chainmail with no apostrophe, so it's not possessive.
I didn't go back and check how his name is spelled.
But no, I like this a lot. I think this is a fun little item.
Dope.
Fun little item.
Okay.
Cute little fun little item.
Thanks. That's exactly how I wanted it described.
Hex is 90 feet range.
It is 90 feet? That's so random.
Yeah.
That's so random. All right, well, I'm willing to move on to our next one here.
Yeah.
All right, because we got 7 to do. All right, here's Justin's, and I will say this. Justin did give 2 separate flavor paragraphs because he took the criticism from last week to heart about having to do all his at once because he puts them all together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why is this?
Uh,
Well, I'm gonna ask this before we get into it, but this magical item looks like a feat just off first glance. But go on.
because when you like, there are items that when you get
I
multiple
know.
benefits, they're like that.
I know.
I mean, I don't.
It just looks like a feat off first glance.
I guess.
I mean, it
Uh,
does. Fight me.
Another
the monks. The monks of the Liasian monastery were kind to have blessed our lost ledgers with a necklace that is given once their monks have endured the trial of grass. This necklace has been shown to better sharpen their minds while enhancing some of their combat capabilities. To better understand these monasteries and their orders, we need to open up our spiritual energy to the planes and worlds that we travel. The
Can I
necklace
just
of
make a
grass.
note real quick? You made up a fictional place called the Liaison Monastery. That's literally just the word liaison.
Yeah,
That word exists. Okay, you did it intentionally? Okay.
yeah. Uh,
Why is it pronounced differently then? I'm gonna choke you.
because I might have like fucked up while reading this at this exact moment. Get off my back.
Okay.
Get off my back.
Okay.
See, and
Fair
I
enough.
was going to make fun of Justin for mispronouncing liaison, not for making up a fake word that's the same as a real word. So I'm glad that both of us were like, we need to make fun of Justin for this.
Necklace
Go
of
on.
ground. Wondrous item, rare, requires attunement by a monk. The silver necklace holds several beads containing pure minerals that the wearer can channel their ki more effectively. While you wear this necklace, you gain the following benefits. Your wisdom score increases by 1 to a maximum of 20. You gain a +1 bonus to attack and damage rolls made with your unarmed strikes. Whenever a creature succeeds on a saving throw against your stunning strike, they have disadvantage on any additional saves against stunning strikes you make until the end of the turn.
All right, go on with your explanation and all that before we get into the details.
My idea behind this is that it's sort of just kind of helping. I feel like there's like no items that help with like your unarmed strikes, which feels like it's a little bit of a missed opportunity. So that was kind of where I came from. But I also wanted to enhance a core feature of the monk's class, which I thought stunning strike is one of the more useful ones, and a lot of their key points are going to get spent using stunning strike. So why not just kind of give them a little bit of a nudge for it? Kind of like boost it up a little bit.
Because that's a hate crime against the DM.
Yeah, well,
Stunning strike is already annoying.
That's
But
the thing. Well, like monks are already kind of incentivized to spam stunning strike, and with this necklace, it's like, all right, all I'm doing every combat is spamming stunning strike. Like, I don't know, it feels.
I also
It
don't
feels.
particularly like the adding incentive to failing something.
What do you mean by like incentive to failing
Because
something?
you
Like,
failed stunning striking somebody, and you get to have advantage on that moving forward because it's got you like you failed to do it. It feels weird to me.
It does feel kind of weird, but like I think of it as like it's not giving you a benefit for failing, it's just mitigating the downside. It's essentially giving you another chance at success. Like
Mhm.
that's the way I think of it. I don't think that this should increase your wisdom score. I don't think that's necessary.
Yeah, I think it's double because it's. I feel like it's triple dipping and making Steady Strike more effective, right? Because it's possibly increasing the DC, it's increasing the chances that you hit, and it's increasing the chances that Steady Strike succeeds all at the same time.
that's fair. My reasoning for it was the Belt of Dwarven Kind just gives you a flat +2 to your con
Yeah.
in entirety.
Right, but the
Along
belt
with
of
a few
dwarven
other.
kind doesn't it doesn't increase the efficacy of one of your main class features.
That's true. It does give some other features as well, but that's why, and it's also a rare item, so that's why I went with. I think just getting a +1 would be fair.
Well, it's also a rare item, and +1 weapons are rare, and you gave them a +1 weapon essentially with the +1 bonus, and then also the bonus to Stunning Strike. And
you know what's funny about that? I looked up because I knew that there's like one item that increases like your unarmed strikes. It's a +1 to like your attack and damage rolls with it, and it's an uncommon item.
oh, which item is that?
Give me a second here. It's in a module.
Honestly, some of the modules have wacky item rarities.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do. Well, to be fair, so does some of the items in DMG.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know how
Like-
I feel about this one. I like the increase to the attack and damage for unarmed strikes, so then that makes sense. I really don't know how I feel with the stunning strike thing, I'm gonna be honest.
I also kind of thought about this too. One of the things that I thought of too is sort of it might bait somebody into using more into like spending more key points because they face a creature that has a good con save, or they face a monster that has a
Yeah.
good con save, and so they're like, okay, but I can make them have disadvantage. They're still getting like a +12 or a +13 to the save anyways. That
Right,
might be
that's
a
the
little
thing. This
high
is
at this level.
That's the thing. It's going to incentivize spamming stunning strikes, both
Yeah.
in situations where stunning strike is good and situations where stunning strike is bad. And in situations where stunning strike is already good, incentivizing the player to spam it is just going to make combat more boring. And in situations where stunning strike is bad, it's just going to make combat it's going to feel very unsatisfactory for the monk, because they're going to be dumping all of their ki into stunning strikes, and the monsters are just going to be making save after save after save. They probably aren't even going to be eating up legendary resistances at that point, because monsters that have good con saves have fucking great con saves. I don't know. I like what you were going for here. I'm interested, but like I don't know. I just feel like trying to incentivize stunning strike in this particular way can lead to some unfun play patterns. But I think that's more. I'm sorry, Shawn. What were you going to say?
I was gonna say that's already kind of a criticism with the monk. When it comes to optimal play, is that they're like, if I want to play the monk optimally, then I should spam stunning strike. Then all my ki gets drained by stunning strike, and then this is just, doubling down on that play style, which is the play style that a lot of people don't like about the monk when they're playing it what they consider to be optimally. I think obviously it'd be nice on players who like to do the more diverse things you could kind of do with the monk. Even if it's not the most optimal play, but then that just incentivizes them to play the way the monk that they don't already like playing.
How many key points does stunning strike cost?
One.
It only costs 1. Damn it.
Yeah.
Okay. I was thinking of maybe making it like when a creature fails the saving throw against stunning strike, it refunds you a key point. But if it only costs 1, I don't think that makes it worse though, because then like.
I like that actually. I like the idea of like, oh, if the creature succeeds in a straight strike, then you just get your key point back, and you only ever lose your key point if it succeeds.
I actually like that. If you do that like once per
other
turn
things
or
to do.
something.
Yeah.
That's fair-ish, but I still feel like that just circles back around to the same problem that you guys had with it.
Well, but the thing is, the key difference
it doesn't
here is
incentivize you to use it again.
That's the thing. You can, if that's what you want to do. If you want to spend your whole turn trying to get stunning strike off, it will only cost you a maximum of 1 key point.
And if you're facing those monsters with high con and you're using that at least once a turn, you get it back. So you're trying to stun them on the off chance that you're able to. But if you're not able to, you get it back and you can do something else with your key points still.
Right.
So it still works good with the high con things.
Right. Then you can spend those key points on Flurry of Blows or Step of the Wind or something a little bit more interesting than Stunning Strike, which is just the epitome of save or suck.
That's fair. That's fair.
I agree with you on the surface that it does kind of incentivize using Stunning Strike more often, but the reason it's better is because it still leaves you alone with key points to use on other things. Because the problem with Stunning Strike for a lot of monk players who want to play it optimally is that they complain about sinking all their ki into Stunning Strike and not be able to use it for other things.
Right, because another one of the big complaints about the monk is just not having enough ki, and so refunding
they go hand in hand.
Yeah, so refunding you ki on failed uses of the ability that you're using most often is a good way to solve both problems. It lets you do other things with your ki, and it gives you a little bit more ki to use.
Okay. But I think that's a fair change to the necklace.
Yeah. And like if take the situation where you're fighting a monster that has that high con, say you're hitting them like 50% of the time. In this situation, if you're refunding key, instead of it costing you 2 stunning strikes or 2 key points to determine that it's not worth stunning strike this person, it only costs you none to determine that it's not worth it anymore.
And it's kind of still worth it because it's key neutral and there's a low chance that they'll fail. It's not a 0% chance, it's just a low chance.
And
So-
you can still spam Stunning Strike if you want because you get a key point back and you can still use it again on your next attacks that you use, but
Right.
you're not like, you don't feel obligated to at this point because if you miss your first Stunning Strike with this one, you feel obligated to do it again on your next.
Whereas if you miss it and get refunded, then you're thinking, well, do I want to just go for it again, or do I want to do something else with these key points?
I still am a bit hesitant just because this means that a monk can, for 2 key points, get 4 attempts at a successful stunning strike. I think that's my biggest concern with it. Because they get extra attack, flurry of blows, 4 chances, and it's like,
how about this?
You only get to refund it once, so it's still cost.
We didn't have that limitation in, but what if we add that? What if it's just
that's originally
the first time on a turn that a creature succeeds on its saving throw against your stunning strikes, you regain 1 key point?
That feels. I think that feels a lot better than just
Yeah.
automatically getting it back every time.
No, that's what I was saying was once a turn. I don't know if yeah.
Yeah,
I heard you say that, but we were talking about it as if without the limitation.
Ah.
That's the thing. Is that adding that once per turn limitation makes it so that you aren't going to be doing that like many millions of times per turn?
Yeah. No, I think it's way too strong if you don't have that limitation. Absolutely.
Fuck it. Why not go full thing with it? Once per turn, you can spend a key point without spending a key point. Like if you do Step of the Wind or if you do Flurry of Blows, you just...
Oh, the first time on each turn that you spend key points, you regain 1 key point?
Yeah.
That way, it's a discount on expensive stuff or just a full refund on the cheap stuff.
That sounds pretty good.
Yeah, and that way it's not explicitly tied to Stunning Strike. Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, it ties me back to the key in, but...
My problem with that is with the Mercy Monk, that's infinite healing.
That's true. So maybe it does need to be tied.
Damn Mercy Monks!
Maybe it does need to be tied to Stunning Strike then.
Yeah, unfortunate. You could explicitly call out the 3 features: Stunning Strike, Flurry of Blows, and Step of the Wind. But
I don't know. I
it's a little bit clunky.
I think that gets a little bit clunky, and if we were going to have it be that wide, I would really want to give the 4 Elements Monk the boost.
Yeah, that's what I was just looking at that. I was excited. I was like, oh, that would be so cool for them, wouldn't it?
What about if it didn't refund you for the 1 key cost stuff? It only refunded you for the more expensive stuff. So whenever you spend more than 1 key point.
But then that removes the use for Stunning Strike specifically.
Yeah, that's right.
And also then I think like there's still a few things that that the monks can do at higher levels with more key points, like going invisible.
Yeah, but not a ton.
Not a ton until you get to like 15th level.
Yeah, so then it's just
mostly just Flurry of Blows costs 2, right?
1.
It just gives you 2 attacks.
Right.
The one that comes off my top of my head is the invisibility thing and the astral projection thing. Those are both multiple key points.
But those are
useful
tier 3
for those,
and 4,
but it wouldn't be useful until those higher levels. Yeah, I think that's 18th level to get those something.
Yeah, and then I know the Shadow Monk, I think they get something with their second feature. I know the Way of the Open Hand gets nothing with their first couple features in terms of key points.
Yeah. Maybe we just need to leave it tied to Stunning Strike with the once per turn rider.
Yeah.
It also makes the Necklace of Ground title make more sense. Because the Stunning Strike's the only thing that's like related to the ground.
Yeah.
Well,
also, kind of weird that we both designed silver necklaces.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, the ground is just mostly supposed to be like tied with like the way that the beads are like on it. That's pretty much the only tie with it. The rest of the like all the benefits that it gives you didn't necessarily like I wasn't thinking that it tied back in with that. I was just thinking, hey,
Oh, see, I thought it was called that because you were grounding the opponent with stunning
Oh.
strikes.
Yeah,
Nope.
that's what I thought.
nope.
If that were the
I'm not
case,
that
it should
clever.
probably be called the Necklace of Grounding.
I thought he was just trying to be a little bit
Actually,
more
I think
bitey
calling
with the
it
title.
I think calling it the Necklace of Grounding gives you both meanings then, because you are like grounding yourself with your like attachment to the earth and grounding your opponents by knocking them the fuck out.
But I like that. I think that's definitely a needed change to it. I thought that I thought about it a little bit, but I guess I didn't warrant too much into the. I didn't give enough thought of it.
I don't think that in a vacuum this ability is necessarily bad, but one of the big complaints among more enfranchised players about the monk is how much you should be using Stunning Strike. And
Yeah.
so I feel like it's
Yeah.
worth your time to try and incentivize a slightly different playstyle, even if you are trying to make Stunning Strike a little bit better.
I agree, and I like the point that this not only does this incentivize use it more, it's sort of like if you miss, you're kind of obligated to
Yeah.
use it again. Otherwise, you're not using your magical item effectively.
Yeah.
Because like in some situations, even though like as first thought as a monk, you're gonna be like use Stunning Strike, but if it fails, you'd be like, I'll just attack for the rest of the turn. With this, it's
Mhm.
like I should try again, right?
Yeah.
And like
Yeah,
I
you have
have
advantage
to.
on it now, like.
Yeah.
And then that turns into like all you're doing. But I think you could play around with that variation of getting a key point back in anything. Whether you did it with Stunning Strike or just the other 3 abilities, like
Yeah.
any sort of
I-
way with that would be pretty cool.
I think
Or if you made it a way of the 4 elements thing.
Never mind.
I was going to say, like, subclass specific items.
Yeah.
Give the 4 elements monk a thing
That
to
could be
refund
fun
key
if
points.
we chose a
key
class
points.
and like we all made different subclass items for that class.
I put into the chat a little bit ago because I didn't want to make sure that I didn't forget about it. Reworking pre-existing subclasses, because we were talking about how the thief is kind of bad, and I would like to.
An interesting idea I saw the other day for how to fix
Before we get off topic and start talking about what we could do in later episodes, maybe we should finish this one and start going into the next items, because we've taken a lot of time on this item specifically, and we still have 4 more to go. So
I appreciate the discussion from this, though.
Yeah, I appreciate it too, and I think it's definitely something that I think would be more appropriate later on when we're discussing what we want to do next week, which we've actually already decided, but we can talk a little bit more about what we want to do in the future.
No, I mean the discussion in general about like key points and everything with this one.
Oh yeah, definitely. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and scroll on down to the next item.
Scrolling on down.
Is mine. You can probably guess what it does just from the title, to be honest. Belt of Cunning. Wondrous item, rare, requires attunement by a rogue of 3rd level or higher. While wearing this belt, you can take 2 bonus actions on your turn if you use at least one of the bonus actions to take an action granted by your Cunning action feature. You can take 2 bonus actions in this way a number of times equal to half your proficiency modifier, and you regain all expended uses when you finish a short or long rest. So essentially, you just get 2 bonus actions every once in a while if you want. Only if they are from your Cunning action, which is cool because some subclasses of rogue give you more uses of your Cunning action.
Yeah.
Huh.
Actually, so the worst thing that I think this lets you do is it lets you. Oh wait, no, dodge isn't one of the things you can do with Cunning action.
No, it isn't.
I always think it is, but it's not.
Hide, disengage, and dash.
Then actually, no. I was gonna say the worst thing you can do with this is steady aim and then dodge, but you can't do that. So
you could steady aim and hide, I guess.
But that's the thing, you'd have to be standing somewhere where steady aim gives you an opportunity to hit somebody, but also leaves you available to hide. So I guess you'd need to be at like a waist height wall so that you could just like crouch down.
Yeah.
But
I'm trying
to think of what the worst thing you can do with this is, because like I'm trying to be nasty and I can't think of a nasty thing to do.
I know that I believe it is the shit. What's
I don't know the cunning actions very well.
the magic subclass?
Arcane
Arcane
Trickster. They
Trickster?
can do their mage hand with cunning action.
Well, that's not what I was going with. I know that I'm pretty certain it's them that they can activate a magic item using a bonus action.
Nope, that's also the thief. That's fast
also the thief?
hands.
Okay, so then the thief, which the thief is bad, but so this one isn't as impactful. But activating a magic item and then using another bonus action.
Why'd you make it 3rd level?
Because you don't get cunning action
cunning
until
action
3rd level.
Yeah.
You get it at 2nd.
Oh yeah, that's
you're
right. You get a subclass at 3rd level.
Then it should be 2nd level.
Okay.
Oops.
That explains that. I just went to look at it and I was like, why 3rd?
So, okay, wait. Let me check something.
I can't think of too many magical items like that you can activate that would be like really strong.
And double dashing.
Yeah, so you get dash, disengage, and hide just like regularly. Are there other cunning actions that you get from other subclasses? Because I'm not familiar with rogues nor cunning actions very well.
From Mage Hand, from for the Arcane Trickster, you can do Mage Hand as a bonus action with cunning action. With I think it's the Inquisitor or the Inquisitive, you can use your bonus action to make a perception check or an investigation check. It's not a cunning action, but with this, you could cunning action and do that. And then also with the Inquisitive as a bonus action, you can make an insight check against a creature that's not incapacitated, contested by their deception, and if you succeed, you can sneak attack them. So that's one. For the Mastermind, you can do the help action as a bonus action, so you can in theory dash and help, or like help and then disengage. But you can already do that, so you can help, disengage, and dash, get the fuck out of there if you wanted with all 3. With the Phantom Rogue, as a bonus action, you can become spectral. But that's kind of like not really a super in combat thing that you do anyway, because it lasts for 10 minutes. With the Scout at 17th level, you can bonus action sneak attack. So in theory, you could sneak attack, and then disengage. That's at 17th level. And for the Soul Knife, as a bonus action, you can regain psionic energy. You can also attack with a Psychic Blade, but that's like normal attacking with the bonus action. With the Swashbuckler at 13th level, you gain advantage on acrobatics or athletics for the turn as a bonus action.
So the most you would be doing with this is like any sort of other bonus action that a rogue would get, and then like disengaging, basically.
Yeah, or maybe hiding.
Or
so
maybe dashing in some situations could be good.
I guess
those are the 3 options.
Oh, wait.
Well, if you have mobile, dashing becomes way more valuable.
I guess you could be like, you could do like 3 thrown weapons or 2 thrown weapons and then a high, and never mind.
How would you throw a weapon with one of your? Because one of them has to be cunning action. You can't attack with the cunning action.
Right, but you could hide with the cunning action, is what I'm saying.
Right, you said 3 thrown weapons.
Yeah, because I can't count. Rogues don't attack.
Well, what about so if you multi-class as a monk?
Yeah, if you multi-class, you can get some stuff.
Then you can both dodge and or you could steady aim, dodge, dash, disengage.
Yeah.
Wait, monks get bonus action dodge? Is that why I always think that rogues have bonus action dodge?
Yeah, for a key point cost, they can bonus action dodge.
Okay, that's why.
So if you get, what is it? Is it 2 levels in monk you get the key points? I think. Yep. Yeah. So 2 levels in monk, 2 levels in rogue, you get access to that. And if you get 5 levels in monk, then you have extra attack as well as this bonus action thing.
But steady aim monk is not really a great combo unless you're doing like a Kensei archer build.
True.
So like I don't think that's a combo that you really need to worry about super a lot.
Yeah.
This item almost feels like it's weaker than rare.
I think it's definitely better than most uncommon items, because even if you're just
Yeah,
double
it's somewhere around
dashing,
there.
like even if you're just double dashing, that's 90 feet of movement on a
Well,
turn.
this item, because actions scale with level, this does get better as you level up, 'cause you use it more often. But yeah, early level it's only one use, and then it's 2 uses at 13th level, and then or not 13th, 9th level, and then it's 3 uses at 17th. So,
And that scales pretty slowly, so it's not like you'd be able to do
yeah,
this every turn, even if you do find something busted
yeah.
to do.
You could at best you can do it like once per combat at low levels, or 3 times per combat at high levels. But I don't think either of those are super busted at those respective levels.
Yeah, well, and we haven't found anything super busted to do with it. Like, there's definitely
I
good
don't
stuff
even
to
know
do
if
with
the
it, but
cap is necessary. Honest, I don't. Maybe I don't know rogues very well, but this seems very weak.
I think the cap is fine. I think that without the cap, it would probably be worth a very rare item at least. Because like getting double bonus actions every turn is great, especially if you're multi-classing into I don't know, like
Like
a class,
cleric.
yeah, like a bonus action spell. Like,
Ooh,
oh geez,
ooh.
Yeah. If there was no cap, I think that it would be busted personally. I think I could see it having a higher cap. I had considered letting it be proficiency bonus per short rest, but then that just felt like it would essentially be all the time.
I think I just don't have enough experience with rogues. I've never played one, and I don't think we've played enough in campaigns that I've seen for me to really understand what this
that's the thing,
does
because
for me.
Penance doesn't really play like a rogue for the most
Yeah.
part. He's only got enough levels to have his subclass, but like even that, like you've seen Penance do some pretty wild shit with cunning action, like doing investiture of lightning and then dashing. Like,
Yeah.
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 And this would let you triple dash.
yeah,
Oh
So you could go
God.
120 feet with base speed. At
and
least
if you've
that's
got
240.
and if you've got mobile, then it's
It's
what,
more.
360.
And if you're to boxing, we could go down the line and just talk
All right,
about how
let's.
fast you
All
can get.
right.
You can run so far.
Actually,
I-
oh man, I really like characters that can be really fast. I was looking at Tabaxi Oath of Glory Monk, because or
Ooh,
fucking Paladin, the Oath of Glory Paladin gets an aura that increases speed.
it does, yeah.
It's so
It's pretty
fucking
dope.
cool.
I
This is a
put
great item. I know that we spent the whole time just trying to break it, but that's kind of all that you can do with something with as simple of an effect as, hey, you know that thing you do? Do it twice.
yeah,
Like,
yeah. My biggest problem with both my magical items, and you'll see with the other one too, is that I feel like they're very, very variant class feature esque, as opposed to being like this magical effect that like really enhances you.
that's fair. Yeah, this is not a super like evocative item.
Yeah.
Like
Which is
this
why
is
I'm not even sure if I'll post these. I might actually just work on these being like either feats or variant class features.
That's fair. I could see
And
this more as
the other one,
a class feature than an item.
yeah, and the other one might feel a little bit more magical, but I still feel like it could be like a variant class feature. But we'll get to that when we do. But
I think that maybe if the like theming of the item was more so playing up your speed rather than just being called Belt of Cunning, like
true.
I think that if it was playing up your speed a little bit more, then it might make a little bit more thematic sense as an item.
I also think personally that I kind of want these to be variant class features. Like when I was working on them, I was like, I kind of just want rogues to have this option generally if they wanted to. Like, because
Sure.
I think it's kind of cool to like have this as like a cool class specific feat or something.
Or what if this is like an option on a subclass or something? Like what if this
Yeah,
is one of the subclass features?
yeah. Um, but yeah, I'm willing to move on from this one. I don't think it warrants too much more discussion.
Yeah, we tried to break it and we couldn't, so I think it's good.
It
All
still
right.
seems weak to me, but I don't know rogues very well.
We got Justin's second item here. Justin.
That we do. Headband of the Sturdy. As I was scribing other ledgers at a local tavern, I was challenged to a drinking contest with a monk from a nearby monastery. My elderly appearance must have made it seem like I could not handle my liquor, but I digress. I've identified this to enable monks to be a bit tougher when they assume their defensive stance. The Steadfast Headband, a wondrous item, uncommon, requires attunement by a monk. This red and white headband fits tight yet comfortable on the wearer's head. While wearing this headband, whenever you use your patient defense feature, you can expend a number of hit dice equal to your proficiency bonus and gain a number of temporary HP equal to the number rolled.
Ooh.
Okay, Justin, before I start digging into you, do you have anything to say about this item?
I don't know what you mean by that. What do you mean? What do I have to? Am I
Well,
supposed to?
talk
do you
about
have any-
your inspiration and stuff real quick.
Right, yeah, do you have
I
anything else you want
panicked
to say?
because Zach was like, you should. Zach was like, hey, we need to have 2 items, and I was like, oh no.
Okay,
And so,
well,
and so while I was waiting, I was just like thinking, and I was going through like other like low level monk stuff, and I'm like, okay, what should I? I was like, patient defense. What could I do with that? And I was like, wait, what if I did something similar to? There's that.
Dwarven Fortitude.
Yes, I was like, what if
Yeah.
I did something similar to that? But I think, wait, do they get temp HP?
No,
Or
they
do
just
they-
regain the HP.
That's what I thought. So I was like, let me pivot a little bit away from that. But
Pivot.
this is also a little bit dangerous because if you spam this every time you use your patient defense, you're gonna burn through your hit dice and not really get a chance, and you're not gonna really get a chance to heal up on a short rest.
Right, yeah, and the fact that it's temp HP means that it doesn't stack well. So,
Yeah.
no, the thing that I need you to know is that whatever you're copy pasting the word wondrous item from, you have it spelled wrong because you have the same typo every time you make a wondrous
Alright.
item.
Let me go quick. Let me go.
Wondrous hours.
Yeah, because every time you present a wondrous item, you have the same typo. And like,
Me-
I've stopped calling it out just because it's not funny anymore, but it's every time. So I need you to fix it wherever you're copy pasting it from.
All right, hold on. Let me.
What I'll say about this one is that
There we go.
if you're a dwarf monk, this is useless. First of all.
Oh yeah, true.
But secondly, this is worse than the dwarven fortitude. I'm sorry, if you're a dwarf monk with the dwarven fortitude feat, this is useless. But on top of that, I also just feel like
Why is it useless?
not being able to add your constitution modifier is kind of weird. I guess that's not perfectly useless because you could actually spend more hit dice than the dwarf can normally.
Well,
What
and
does that dwarven feat do for somebody who doesn't know?
whenever you take the dodge action, you can roll a hit die and regain that many HP plus your con mod.
Yeah. So this technically does allow you to spend more hit dice, but it doesn't let you add your con mod for the hit dice. So
But-
this is trading. My issue with it is that this is trading what hit dice are normally used for to be worse in a tight situation. And I don't think you need to do that. I don't think you need to make that downside to the just because it's a quicker thing.
My biggest concern was rolling 68 plus your con mod, or even.
I think that's chill. You're using your hit dice for it. It's not an infinite well of health.
I don't think the con mod breaks this in any way.
I also want to point out, I think it's fine for an uncommon magic item to be weaker than a feat.
Yeah, I like this. Even if that feat does exist for dwarves specifically, there's still so many other like
you guys are
different
focusing
types
way
of
too
things.
much on the feet thing. I care much less about the feet thing than I do.
You're the one who brought up the feat.
I know, but that wasn't my main point. I just laid out my main point. My main point is that this is a nerf to using hit dice in a short rest that I don't think needs to be nerfed. I think you can add your con modifier and you don't need the temporary hit points. I think it just be
You want to
regular
just
hit
make
points.
it healing?
Yeah.
I would not want that.
I don't think it should be regain healing. But I'm fine with the con mod either way.
But yeah,
I think
here's
that-
another reason why I don't think it should be healing, because let me patient defense 3 times, roll a ton of hit dice. I'm good to go.
Then there goes
Right.
all your hit dice for the day.
And also, the rest of your party didn't get any healing. Like your monk is not going to solo an encounter just because they spent all of their hit dice. Like,
I think as
think that-
uncommon, I think it's fine as temp hit points.
I was going to say that. I think that if you're going to do add your con mod and have it be actual HP, maybe it deserves the bump up to rare.
I think it's
Just
fine as
because
uncommon.
I think that's very powerful for an uncommon item.
Yeah.
Letting you, as a bonus action, take most of a short, basically most of the benefits of a short rest. Like,
As a monk, it's
especially-
not most of the benefit. The biggest benefit for a monk is getting your key points back in a short rest.
Sure, but being able to spend 1 key point to get all of the healing that you would normally get from a short rest out of a bonus action, I think that's worth being rare.
And also I think like comparing this to like other healing abilities, for example, the Way of the Open Hand Monk, they can as an action heal for 3 times their level once per long rest. Uh other spells like an equivalent
But
bonus
everything that you're
action spell.
listing is on top of your hit dice pool. This is not a well of healing that you can just abuse. You have limited hit dice. Every time you use this feature, you're taking away from potential healing you can have later. Right? This isn't the trade-off is the fact that you're pulling it from a wellspring of life that you can have later. And I think dropping the con and making it temporary hit points, I think is I think it's unwarranted. I think it's too much of a correction for it
I
being
think
a bonus action dodge.
I'd be willing to add like the con. Like that was something when I was typing this in and I was just trying to like think like honestly the main reason I didn't add the con
Big
to the temporary
question.
HP.
If what is the difference for this making a temp besides regaining
It
that you're
is
worried about? Because temporary hit
it
points
is
I would think is better.
it's weighing that risk reward of should I get a temporary buffer right now, or do I think that I'm going to need more of this healing later? That's
But this temporary hit points don't go away on a short rest. You have this all day.
that's true. Um,
Unless you specify somewhere in the effect that it goes away in like a minute or something. In which case, then fine, yeah, it's worse than healing. But as it is, the penalty for temporary hit points would be that you can't get more temporary hit points or something else, and you could still die from like power word kill, for instance. Versus regaining hit points, which have the problem of you can regain more hit points than your max allows, which is not a problem for temporary hit points. And well, that's really the only drawback for regaining hit points, but it's a pretty big one because the way it is now, I can patient defense as soon as I finish a short rest, and I have this a good amount of temporary hit points until I lose them.
I still like it with temporary hit points more.
I think you're saying that because you guys like temporary hit points so much.
Yeah,
you guys love temporary hit points.
I'm on Shawn's side just because we designed too much stuff with temp HP already. Well, not
fair.
only for that reason, but that is like the tiebreaker for me here. I could be on either side, but we already designed too much stuff with temp.
We even have a cantrip that's literally this.
Actually, yes, we do have a cantrip that does basically this.
We do have a cantrip, that is true.
So I'm trying to compare this to other healing items at low rarities. The healing items at low rarities really fucking suck, guys. Because, like, at rare, like, I can't find anything that, like, its dedicated purpose is healing other than a staff that gives you some spell slots. Like, because, like, other than that, the only thing that is dedicated healing on magic items is consumables, like potions.
Yeah.
And, I mean, just for comparison, if this is an uncommon item that lets you spend your proficiency in hit dice to gain that much HP, that is better than a very rare potion of healing every day.
But it is still at the cost of your hit dice.
That's true. So I think that this would be a quite strong uncommon item and maybe a little weak as a rare if it's real HP.
You know what's funny about that? That was the way that I viewed my other item, except with rare and very rare. And I side like, because when it comes to magical item ranking, like
but also
there's really no difference between like a strong like uncommon item versus like a weak rare item.
Well, and also
of, like, tables really.
And also, Wizards is 100% inconsistent on magic item rarity anyways, because the Ring of Protection and Cloak of Protection do exactly the same thing, but are different rarities.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm not steadfast on it being uncommon or rare. I'm most steadfast on I think it should be regain hit points with your con modifier. And I think that wouldn't be busted because it's taking from a limited pool, and I think temporary hit points in a lot of situations are better than regular hit points.
I think my concern with that is just I think my concern with it is more or less just the monk being more self-sufficient in combat. That's
More than none. That's
well,
The monk already has kind of an issue with like because the build for the monk is like, oh, I should be up close because unarmed fighting and really using
stunning
monk
strike
weapons and
flurry
stunning
of blows,
strike.
yeah.
And it's like the monk has a lower hit die than a fighter. They get better saves at a much higher level, so it's not like they're really like clamoring on saves low level. And really the best things that help them are like the dodge action. But like we said, the optimal way of playing the monk doesn't really help in that regard. And I think this would encourage a better tanky way of playing the monk, which I think is a nice way of playing the monk. I think
that's
some
fair.
people
You've
go in
convinced
thinking they can do that, and I think sometimes the monk kind of fails at achieving that fantasy.
You've convinced me with that.
I think that this would be really fun on your Strunk, Shawn.
Oh yeah,
God.
that'd be fun.
Oh God.
Strong.
You've convinced me with that about it being, and like I said before, the main reason that I didn't have con in there was because I was trying to get it out earlier, but when I was typing this up and I was like, how would I format that? Fuck it, I don't know. I just gonna finish this.
I am totally sympathetic to I am in a rush, and so I don't want to make this the more complicated way. That's I'm totally understanding of that. That's why I had the set DC on my item.
Yeah, absolutely understandable.
But no, yeah,
I think I'm just a slut for temp HP because I definitely still like the flavor of it with temp HP better.
Yeah, temp HP.
You definitely are.
I totally get it.
It's okay. I went back.
Zach's a total slut.
I went and found where I've been copy pasting from Wondrous from
Run drawers.
Did you fix it?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
All of them.
It's okay. I spelled Wondrous wrong this podcast too, so
it's okay. Adam doesn't call you out. He only calls me out.
I stopped calling you out when it started being an every time thing. This wasn't even so much a call out as please, for my own sanity, fix this.
Now I'm just not going to. Now I'm going to go back and undo all of that in home brewery.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and scroll down to the next item, which I think is mine. Yeah, it is. Yes, I put. Oh well, this one's not wondrous; it's a weapon. But the other one I put wondrous. Anyway.
Oh yeah.
The Assassin's Blade. Weapon, dagger, rare, requires attunement by a rogue of 3rd level or higher.
And this time that's actually the right cost.
Yes, it is. When you hit a target and apply your sneak attack to the hit, you can forego a number of sneak attack dice to force the target to make a con save. And the save is strength or dexterity based, your choice. If you're playing a strength based rogue, that's all on you. On a failure, the target is afflicted until the end of your next turn by effects of your choice based on the number of sneak attack dice foregone, as shown in the sneak attack cost table. On a success, the target is unaffected. You can afflict the target with more than one effect by foregoing a number of sneak attacks equal to the sum of the costs of the effects. Sneak attack cost table. The conditions. You can do deafened for 2d6, disadvantage on ability checks and attack rolls for 2d6, speed had for 2d6, blinded for 3d6, unable to regain hit points for 3d6, disadvantage on saving throws for 4d6, reduced speed to 0 for 4d6, or incapacitated for 5d6.
I'm okay with all of these except for that last one.
Really? 5d6?
I just mean having that condition on this table, period.
Yeah.
That's
incapacitated is very, very good, but is incapacitated realistically any better than stunned would be?
I mean,
yes,
stunned literally has. You're thinking of paralyzed, Justin. This
Oh,
is incapacitated. Stun and paralyze are both default better because part of their condition is giving you the incapacitated condition.
Oh, right. Oh, I'm sorry. This is the
Incapacitated
one
is
that's
just
worse.
you can't take actions or reactions. That's it.
oh, interesting.
Then actually, yeah, I think that's probably fine because I
Yeah.
was going to suggest replacing it
Yeah.
with stunned, but I had their hierarchy switched.
I consider putting stun on this. I originally had my original thoughts were poisoned, blinded, poisoned, blinded, stun, and paralyze. But then I thought of stun and paralyze, and I was like, the problem with those is that it would make the next attack you have advantage, which will automatically be sneak attack. I didn't want to do well. My bad. One of my original thoughts was to put this as a dex save. And if I had put stunned or paralyzed, it would be an automatic fail every time you did it. But I changed it to con, so that didn't follow anymore. Then that train of thought. So I could still put stunned or paralyzed on this. I just felt incapacity was good enough.
Yeah, I think it is.
I like this thematically, but it's one of those items where I feel like there's a lot going on with it, like to the point where you would have to like test this to see how well any of this would do. With everything that's going on with it. But it does seem like it would make rogues more annoying for a DM, which annoys me, and I don't even have to deal with rogues. So
I don't. As a DM, I mean, I know you guys are a rogue in my campaign.
I am.
Actually.
You're a poor
you
rogue,
are, but you're
a
like
rogue.
you're mostly warlock. So like the rogue stuff doesn't come out nearly as much.
yeah, it's just to augment the warlock.
Yeah, you are a very poor rogue.
Although until Tasha's came out, it didn't even do a good job of augmenting my warlock skills. Like now that I've got steady aim, like steady aim Eldritch Blast is baller. Don't get me wrong. But until Tasha's came out, I was very, very bad at rogue things. I mostly took it for like expertise in a couple things.
I mean, that's a very appetizing thing for rogue.
I really do like this for theming wise, and the idea of Assassin's Blade and all these things that you can do to somebody, like if you snuck up, made them deafened, or any of these abilities or conditions. I do think theming wise it's really cool, but I feel like it's hard to get into the nitty gritty of the numbers on this because it's just something that you would have to play test.
I agree. I mean, all of these are just me kind of like feeling like, oh, this feels like it could be worked like 3D. And I was thinking about like, at what levels does a rogue get certain D6? And it's like, do I want to get blinded immediately at 3rd? Or should I wait till 5th where like the blindness deafen spell comes on and stuff?
Right.
My only go ahead.
Go on.
My only concern is that like you're able to do these. I mean, I know you're sacrificing damage, but you're not really like consuming anything to do these outside of sacrificing damage. But there is a DC that they still have to pass in order to like. So it kind of outweighs it. But and it's also, like I said, there's so many different things working that I feel like it has to be play tested. That like,
that's the thing.
It seems fine.
It's probably fine.
It reads very like straightforwardly. Like on first read, it's like, okay, there's a lot going on, but I know exactly what this does. Like I can think about it, I can hold it in my head pretty easily, even though it's a big chunky stat block. And so I think that fiddliness like does need playtesting before somebody can confidently say, yeah, all of these costs are accurate. But like, I think that you accurately sorted these effects into tiers. And so it's like, I think that's a fine place to start. Like,
yeah, this is another thing where I'm like, I kind of don't even want this to be a magical item. I want this to be an interesting choice for rogues.
Yeah, I can see where you're going with that.
Right. And that's how I felt about both
like
these
maybe
items.
I was going to say maybe have this be like an optional class feature for the assassin to trade off their like quadruple damage on first turn or something like.
Oh yeah, that could be, because that's a pretty load ability for the assassin.
Yeah.
But I could see this on any rogue, honestly. Like both of these features, I'm like, I feel like this could be a really cool like sub mechanic for the game that'd be fun to explore. Because I think Pathfinder has this like a little bit, like you could sacrifice sneak attack for certain things, but I like the idea of like trading off damage for an effect. I think that should be explored a little bit more in the game.
God, I was looking at Pathfinder classes the other day, trying to get inspiration for another thing I'm working on, and I forgot that like for some Pathfinder classes, it's just like, oh yeah, you get to take this ability, like you get to pick 5 out of 7 of them as you progress through the class, and I was like, oh man, that's so cool. It's like build your own class. Like I
Yeah.
miss that about Pathfinder. There's a lot of other things I don't miss about Pathfinder, but
Oh,
I
yeah.
do miss that about Pathfinder.
That is the one thing I can always give Pathfinder is that like I like being able to like make a unique character with choices, which is part of the reason why I'm drawn to the Warlock so much.
I do see where you're coming from with this being like it does feel weird that it's specifically a blade or a dagger that is doing these things. Like it feels like it's something else, or like it could be like a kit, but that's hard to like put into how that would work with your sneak attack and whatnot.
Honestly, I feel like both of your items just need. Honestly, they need what Justin does. They need some lore behind them to explain why they're items and not class features, and then they would totally read as magical items. Because, like, if the Assassin's Blade had like a paragraph or two about like, oh, a variety of different poisons leave different lingering effects when you get a good hit in on somebody, like, or if your Belt of Cunning like did more to hype up, like, oh, it makes you especially quick and hard to pin down, like. I think that they just need a little bit of extra lore to feel more like items.
I think my big problem this week was that I was so focused on the mechanics and like making something interesting with the mechanics that already exist in the class that it became too like vanilla for that class versus yours and Zach's, for instance. Yours is I had a theme, fire, heat. I'm gonna apply that to the Barbarian. Here's a classic idea of what you can do with that. And Zach's is literally has nothing to do with the class at all. It's just it's just a magical item that can only be attuned to that class, which was a very smart way of going about it. It gives a very interesting way for fighters to counter magic users. And I was like, that didn't even cross my mind to make an item like that. Actually, that's not true. There was one idea that I had. I had an idea where it'd be a magical item that would effectively make your weight 0. So like you could like stealth around without making any noise whatsoever, or, like walk across like tight ropes and stuff, or like stand on like points. I was thinking like Sly Cooper.
Sure.
And I was like, that's a really cool idea. And then I thought about it, I was like, but I want to do something with sneak attack specifically. And then I did this one and I was like, ooh, what if they could take more than one cunning action? And I got 2 in the weeds of the mechanics.
I didn't even think about like the features of classes when I was doing my items.
Yeah, that was the only thing I could think about.
Well, and for fighters, it's kind of hard because fighters don't have a stance like the Barbarians do. They don't have a resource that they're constantly using like the monks do. They don't have an ability that they're proccing every turn like the rogues do.
Yeah.
For fighter, basically your choice is, okay, I could proc something off of Second Wind or Action Surge.
Yeah.
And other than that, it's like there's nothing that the fighter is like triggering or doing specifically, because it's like their defining feature is extra attack. So it's like, okay, whenever you attack, okay.
Yeah, definitely.
No, I really like both of your items, Shawn. I agree with what you said, that like you are so in the weeds on the mechanics that they are missing some of the theming that would really sell them as items.
Yeah, absolutely. Well,
they are so exciting from a like mechanical point of view, though. Like I'm thinking about building a rogue who uses one of these items.
I want to try both of these. I want to make a rogue that has ideally both of these, and see how it plays, and maybe even rapid strikes. Though that would be strange with this one, actually.
That's the thing. You couldn't really use. I mean, you'd have to completely reconfigure it, but
yeah, you'd have to really because rapid strikes you don't get as many attacks as dice, so like you'd have to that'd be a whole thing. But yeah, I am willing to go ahead and move on this one.
Yeah, I think we're good to move on.
Yeah,
sure.
And that leaves us with the last item, which is Zach's.
Yeah, I hope that I did this right. I didn't quite check some of the mechanics on this, so I hope this is correct, and you guys can help me if it's wrong. But Weapon Master's Haversack. Wondrous item, rare, requires attunement by fighter. All weapons put in the bag gain a +1 to attack and damage. You can fit 3 weapons into this bag despite its small size. Once they have been put into the bag, a patch is added to the outside of the bag showing what the weapons are that are in the bag. While these weapons are in the bag, you can call upon them as a free action to show up in your hands. This can be done as long as the bag is on the same plane as you.
Okay, so
That's cool.
free actions are not a thing in 5e.
Okay.
You would
I didn't know
need-
what it was to like.
You could
pull
say
weapons out.
you can use your free item interaction to draw the weapon.
Yeah,
Yes,
whatever
you can
that
use your
equivalent
item
of that is.
interaction. Yes, that's the thing. You could just say you can use your item interaction, or if you want it to be something that you can do with no cost, you could just say without using an action.
No action
Yeah.
required.
Yeah, no action required. Yeah.
Yeah. So my idea with it, so that you guys can maybe help me word it correctly here, is I wanted a fighter to be able to have like multiple weapons that they like using in different scenarios. And I know that you can't pull out like multiple weapons on a turn. I wanted you to be able to just instantly switch from one to the other because they are a part of the magic that's with this bag.
Yeah.
I
would say you want to add something that says you can put it in the bag, as well.
Yeah, so maybe do it as your item interaction, but specify that you can draw and stow at the same time, so you can trade weapons out from the bag.
Well, he wants.
Yeah.
I think in theory you want to be able to like, first I attack with my sword, then I attack with my hammer, then I attack with my axe. So you want to be completely free.
The weapon in your hand is completely switching to a different weapon.
So wait, what was your intention that you should be able to do this?
It might just need more wording.
Multiple times in a turn?
Yes.
Or was your
You can switch between whatever 3 weapons you think fit the entire scenario.
I've got it. Whenever you make an attack, you can swap. Yeah, you would trigger it on the attack.
Sure.
That'd be the way to do it, I think.
Now I'm just imagining like,
because it's supposed to have an idea of like the warlock summon a weapon thing, because it's the same
like
plane of
packed
existence.
weapon?
Because you can have this bag somewhere else. You could leave it at home and still summon these weapons.
Yeah, or put them away.
Yeah, somebody takes this bag from you, but you still are able to.
I think
that was going to be my question, because it's not supposed to. Can someone else grab the weapons from the bag? Like if they open it up and like reach inside?
My answer would be no.
Okay, you just want to include a sentence saying only you can remove items from the bag once they've been placed in it.
Or place weapons in the bag, probably too. Or you could just say only you can open the bag.
Yeah, that would work. So yeah, I would say like have the ability to swap the weapon trigger on your attack, but then also allow you to do it as your item interaction, so that like you can switch without making an attack, but you can also switch anytime you make an attack.
Probably just needs a lot more description on it than.
Man.
It just needs a little bit of like technical wording on like whenever you make an attack, you can.
This is just so fucking cool. I love just so many different things you can do from this item alone.
Yeah.
It's just like,
and I imagine it being like a tiny little like sack that you have, so like nobody expects that you can keep whatever weapons you have in there.
I just like imagine it's just like rapier, throw a dagger, shoot a longbow, like just so
oh man, that's so fucking cool.
So many cool fucking things.
Honestly, I was not quite sold on the like, fantasy of the item until Justin just described that. That's
like, dude,
man.
Just imagine someone that's like using like two-handed weapons, like. You just get fucking cleaved by a battle axe. You're like, oh, okay, I'm getting ready to pair. Then just all of a sudden, just a big ass maul comes down on top of you.
or like, even like swapping a two-handed weapon for 2 one-handed weapons. Like a huge great axe comes down, and then like as soon as you look back up, like they're wielding a rapier and a dagger. It's like, oh my god, what the fuck's happening? Like,
this definitely allows you, and maybe the only way in the game that really allows you to play the type of character that swaps between weapons.
Yeah,
because like the closest you can get is the dual wielder feat, which allows you to draw and stow at the same, but like you still can't like swap between bow and then like javelin and then axe with that. Like, this is really the only way that you could really get the. This makes it worth getting all 3 of the damage weapon or damage feats, because you can have one of each, and they all proc once per turn. So you can swap between all 3 and have all 3 effects lay out.
That'd be incredible. This
is a dope ass item, Zach.
I like the
this is really cool.
It's a good thing.
This is our last item for the day, right?
It is, yeah.
I think everybody did a good job this week. These were all fun items. These are cool.
They were.
I I do have one last question about this. So even if a weapon already has if a weapon already has like additional +1 to attack and damage, or anything like that, you're still fine with it giving this bonus, correct?
Yeah, I would have wanted to give an additional one. And honestly, I added that last minute because I wasn't sure if the rest of the thing was like strong
Th-
enough.
this-
So
I think that without that line, this should only be an uncommon item.
Mhm.
But
I
I think
agree.
that with that, it's probably appropriate at rare, especially because it's worth noting it doesn't turn them into magical weapons. So if they're mundane, they don't become magical. They
Yeah.
just have a +1.
I
yeah,
thought
because
that-
they have like well, but
I
A
think
no, it
weapon-
wouldn't make them.
A +1 weapon is magical, but a weapon getting a +1 bonus does not
Yeah.
make it magical.
Oh, that's fair.
Yeah,
This
this is not.
because like the
The
Forge
spell-
Clerics.
The spell Magic Weapon, for instance, explicitly gives you the +1, but also explicitly calls out the weapon is considered magical now.
Same
As
thing.
does the Forge Clerics thing, yeah.
Yeah, this is just adding a +1 to attack.
Is there anything in the game that does just say you get a +1 to attack and damage?
I mean, not to both, to my knowledge, but like there are the fighting styles, for instance, which give you bonuses. There's like those are probably the closest things that I know of. But I mean, it's not unheard of in the game for you to get like flat bonuses that aren't magical.
You know, it gives you a +1 to attack and damage, a +2 to your strength.
I mean,
True.
I meant like for like it called to like a weapon or something along those lines.
Right. No, I can't think of an effect that specifically does that.
Yeah, without the +1 on both of these, though, it felt like it was only useful if you had like 3 specific magic items or something like that. I mean, it's still useful to be able to switch, but like not as like
That's the thing.
nice
So
as like.
if it's an uncommon item, then it's basically only useful for the situation that we were just gushing over of being like somebody who switches between weapons constantly. But since it gives the +1 to attack and damage, it's useful even for people who aren't doing that.
Yeah.
You know, to be interesting is that this Haversack allows you to attune to the Haversack, and any item that you put in, you become attuned to, but they don't take an additional slot. So you
I think that would bump up its rarity significantly, but I think that would be a really cool item.
I think it could still be rare because it's still only because think about it this way: if I'm a fighter that wants to have this multi-fighting style thing, it's not great for me because if I want to be able to use a slashing, bludgeoning, and piercing weapon and this bag, I have to be unattuned to at least one of those 4 items.
Yeah, that's fair.
Oh right, you only get 3 attunement slots.
Oh.
Yeah,
So I think
don't you? Fuck, I got so used to your homebrew of proficiency mod attunement slots. Oh god,
Which is going back on next campaign.
Yeah, because the artificer has a thing. But yeah, no, I think actually, yeah, I agree with Shawn. I think let it essentially let you be attuned to things that are in the bag without consuming your attunement.
Yeah, and I think that's fair because otherwise, like at higher levels, your non-magical weapons are going to do anything. Like even if it gets a +1 to attack and damage, like that's still not going to outweigh the benefits of having a magical weapon.
Right. Yeah, that's the thing. Like at high levels, even your worst weapons, it's going to be like, this one's only a +1 magical weapon.
Yeah. And I'm thinking as a DM handing this out, or as a player who wants to see it, I'm thinking of that being able to swap between multiple useful items. You don't want to have one of them have to be useless because you only have 3 attunement slots.
Well, and that makes the fantasy even better of like switching between 3 different legendary weapons every turn. Like,
really does.
So fucking cool. I'm sure
it's like
that
Zoro from One Piece.
I was gonna say, I'm sure that there's an anime character who does that, like switching between 3 completely different weapons. Like,
to be fair, he doesn't switch; he just has them all out. But
yeah, that's the thing. He's just holding one in his mouth. But like,
even still, just the fantasy of like being able to swap between like a ton of different weapons is just so badass. And like think about like if you have like a pike in there, or like
Dude, don't even get me fucking started about pole arms. You know how I feel about pole arms.
I know you know. Just imagine you're on a mount, right? And then you pull out. I can't think of it right now.
The lance.
The lance. Thank you.
Yeah.
just, oh yeah, I'm riding up on someone. They're like, why is this dude riding up on me with like no
Not
weapon?
even. You don't even have to pull it out. It just comes to you.
Just appears. You just lance some poor bastard. You get a little bit closer. You switch. You hit him with a flail, and then just for good measure, on your way past, just slice up his back with a longsword. Like,
oh my god.
it feels such a good fantasy that I don't. That like this probably. Like when I imagined my fighter in my other campaign for he's
I knew
dual
it. I knew he was
wielding.
gonna bring it up at some point. I was
Yeah,
like, this would fit your
I-
fighter, dude.
It would because he's just constantly like swapping between weapons. Like he's like, okay, I'm putting the flail away and I'm pulling out my rapier now. Like all that type
Yeah.
of things. This is fucking so cool about that.
I always wanted to do that with characters, but it's hard to do in 5e. You could even like make a belt that just allows you to switch faster or something like
think
that
it's
for
hard in 5e?
regular items.
Play Pathfinder where you provoke attacks opportunity for switching weapons.
Oh my god. And when you stand up, and when you cast spells, and
And when you breathe, and when you just try to say like, hey, I don't think we should be fighting, and when you just attack, they get an attack of opportunity against you.
no, hey, attacks were one of the very few things that did not provoke.
Unless there's an unarmed attack, in which case it would provoke.
Oh right, yeah. Fuck.
I was just memeing.
Well,
Jeez.
let that be a lesson to you.
How dare I meme?
Yeah, how dare you meme? No, this is fucking awesome, man.
If you could think of a meme way for a game to fuck with the player, Pathfinder probably does it. Because Pathfinder says fuck the player. You need 3 feats to do that, bitch.
That's the thing. Oh, you want to cleave through your enemies? Well, cleave has a prerequisite, and also cleave is bad. What you really want is greater cleave, which has another prerequisite between cleave and greater cleave.
And Vital Strike. You need to get Vital Strike if you want to actually be useful.
Yeah. Oh my god. I love Pathfinder, but
enough
That was
bashing
a-
Pathfinder.
That was a great magical item to cap this off with.
that was, yeah.
Oh,
Oh man. So
yawning.
what we're talking about next week
Mhm.
is quest rewards and or quest hooks.
Or at least
Item
that's what we wrote down, unless somebody else had an inkling that came across it during this session.
right, yeah. Did anybody come up with anything that they like way better than that idea?
I mean, this was something that we decided last week that we were going to be doing next week.
Right, because we recommended it a week ago, and a few people were like, "That's too hard," and so we were like, "Well, then you have 2 weeks to prepare."
So
Is
I
it-
think
But
Is
we
it
also
still too
discussed
hard?
reworking existing subclasses, which I thought was interesting.
I did. I did put that in, but I would like to because I was trying to figure out what we were going to be what to do next week, and then I started coming up with an idea to just come up with another item set. So
My big concern with doing reworking existing subclasses is that almost no subclasses are SRD, and so like we would have issues with getting our edits out there as like compared to the base
I guess
subclass.
that's probably true, but you could also find like all of the existing stuff like online.
It
but
can
I
be
totally
found,
understand.
but like
I've seen tons and tons of people do reworks of like classes and subclasses like online all over the place.
I don't think it's a bad idea, and we aren't profiting off of any of this right now, so Wizards
Yeah.
wouldn't have any reason to stop us. But if we, in the future, want to profit off of some of these things, that, in particular, would not be a stream that we could, like, readapt
Yeah.
into a book that we publish, for example. But, like, I don't think we're publishing anything anytime soon. So, like, I'm fine with that being on the list. I just wanted to point out that it will by necessity not be about SRD because there's only one SRD subclass for every class.
I mean, Wizards could just fix this by just hiring us to like, come on, get us on the team, Wizards. Like, what's taking you so long? We're out here throwing out good ideas, pushing the limits of 5e. Like, get us on.
Actually, Wizards has rules about their designers not looking at unsolicited designs, so they literally can't even look at anything we've done.
Their designers don't have to look at us. Just the boss can.
Anyways, Zach, it sounds like you're trying to say something.
Also, I have mine ready for next week already.
All right.
Nice.
So I guess we're doing quest hooks and or rewards. So
All right.
items or feats or abilities or something that ties into giving the players a hook or a reward for finishing something. So the item that inspired this I'm sorry, Shawn. What were you going to say?
I just want to rant real quick. Hold on. I follow Matt Colville on Twitter, okay?
Sure.
And he made a tweet that I hate.
Okay.
And
all
I
right.
think it spells out something about his expectations for D&D versus mine. He said, isn't milestone... How does milestone leveling rewarding the players with levels? And he was like, aren't you just rewarding them for showing up?
What?
Leveling is not a reward. I don't know, that's a hot take. It's part of the game. Rewards are like magical items, special class features and stuff. Hell, I would even go so far to say that those aren't even rewards, but that's going a little far. People come to play D&D to play D&D and have fun and spend this game with their friends. They're not looking for rewards from their DM. I don't need to incentivize my players to level up. That's just an expectation from the game. If you as a DM hold off leveling up because you don't want to reward your players or something like that, that's ridiculous. You can't progress the game without leveling up. That's how you play the game. My players aren't excited to level up because they want a reward. My players are excited to level up because they want more avenues to affect the world because they're playing a game where they can play characters that affect the world. So when we're talking about quest rewards, a quest reward is a reward because I'm rewarding the players for biting onto a hook that they were interested in and allowing them to feel like what they've done in the game actually had an effect and gave them benefit. Leveling is not part of that system. Anyway, go on.
All right.
Maybe I don't have my quest reward of leveling up for next.
The reward is just leveling up.
The 2 levels.
The item that inspired us to make this theme for next week was several weeks ago. Shawn brought a robe of the Fae, I think you called it, or robe of the Archfey.
It was me and Justin. It was the same week. Justin brought that mammoth
oh
thing.
Yeah.
And we were talking about how you could see that being a reward for helping a sect of tribes, each giving you a piece of it. And then that was the beginning of the episode. And the end of the episode was the Feywild cloak, where you had to go around and ask for the Fae's favor.
Right. So Justin's was 3 items that, once you have all of them, produce an even more powerful effect. And Shawn's was an item with a base effect, but you could get more powerful effects and more effects stacked on top of it by, earning favors from powerful Fae.
Yeah.
And we thought that those both made very interesting either quest hooks, in the case of the robe, since it incentivizes you to go interact with more Fae, or rewards in the instance of Justin's mammoth gear, where, a series of rewards leads you to the full set, which provides even more power.
Which is dope.
Yeah, I would suggest for doing this, lore is going to be super helpful.
Yeah, lore is definitely going to be a big part of this one.
What are you talking about? I'm just gonna
Whether you do items or not, I think that lore is going to be very important for this week. So that's what we've got going for next week.
Any last words from Reddy?
Can't wait.
What's the word of the day? What's the word of the day, Adam?
Hey, Zach was going to say something. Let the man speak.
Nah, fuck him.
Can't wait for Killigan's armor. I'm so glad you guys helped me modify it.
Oh man, that's gonna really fuck us up in our party of 5 casters.
Yeah, got a lot of casters in our party.
Oh man.
Apparently, we're gonna fight Kilagin at some point, though,
which is going to be traumatic and heartbreaking. Oh goodness. No, I was a big proponent of letting Zach speak because I didn't have the word of the day ready yet, and I haven't thought of one in the ensuing 30 seconds.
The word of today is proponent. Adam?
Proponent. That's a good one. Someone who is in favor of something or a defender of something. What I was going to say was that the word of the day is unprepared, but
I'm a proponent for that word of the day.
Okay.
Drink more water, everyone. You can never drink too much water.
Well, you can. He's
No,
lying
can.
to
Shut
you.
Shut up.
You
Both of you
absolutely
shut up.
can.
The average
Don't-
person is
It's
not
called
drinking enough.
drowning.
Don't
The
don't
person,
don't
the
listen to
average
fucking.
person is not drinking enough water to begin with. Drink more water. Stay hydrated.
Okay, okay. Those are two very different statements. The statement the average person is not drinking enough water, absolutely true. The statement you cannot drink too much water, patently false. You can die of water poisoning. People have done it before.
Patently false.
If you're not drowning, then you're not drinking, right?
Yeah, Zach's right.
See you next week.
Don't
Bye.